Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Yeah, hey, every day can be a better day despite the challenge. All you gotta do is leave it better than you found it. It's gonna get difficult to stand, but hold your balance. I just say whatever, cause there is no way you're round it. Cause everyone falls down sometime, but you just gotta know it'll all be fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Hey everybody, my name is Annie Ton Coker. I go by Annie. Some of y'all probably know me as Miss Annie. And if you don't know me, now you do. And now you're in my house. Welcome. I live here in Fountain City. I live actually right by Central High School, which is where I know a lot of you guys go to school. But before I was living in Fountain City or Knoxville or Tennessee, before, you saw my pictures, before people were doing the Until Tomorrow challenge on Insta, before Instagram was even a thing, literally, about 20 years ago, I was growing up in a town called Thomaston, Georgia. And man, small town. And the house that I remember the most, 139 Avenue F. And I mean, that house, like, I was about 4 or 5 when I remember the most from that house. And so just, you have to picture a 4 or 5-year-old me, okay? You see her, she's angelic, right? Praise God. That little girl thought that house was literally a castle on a hill. I could actually hear the Ed Sheeran right now. Literally a castle on a hill. You just have to imagine this big white house up on a hill, and it was just enormous to me, to my 5-year-old mind. And don't even get me started on the pecan trees in the backyard. Like the wind, y'all heard that wind blowing? That wind would just blow through those big old pecan trees, and just the trees would sway like they were gonna fall over on me. And in my 5-year-old mind, like whenever the pecans came off, it was like bullets flying. Like you gotta do the Matrix in that backyard, because you don't know if it was gonna hit you, because everything was so large, especially the steps that led up to the top of the house. It was like you would climb up a pyramid to get to the front door. It was majestic to me at 5. But then I went back about 3 years ago, and I wasn't 5, I was 23, and I realized that the steps were narrow, the hill was mild, and the pecans were definitely powerless. So even though I'd gotten older and my view had changed, that house, that neighborhood, that environment, it definitely changed me first. So I feel like my older sister actually could explain it a lot better than I could. So listen to her real quick.
Hi, my name is Dami Adeshina, and this is my son, Sheon. And I grew up in a town called Thomaston, Georgia. And the neighborhood that I grew up in Georgia, well, I grew up in several neighborhoods, but the one that I remember the most that had the most impact on me was 139 Avenue F. You see my son trying to call me out. Was 139 Avenue F, and I lived here the longest in my life. It was kind of where I spent most of my most of my elementary and middle school. And if I could describe this neighborhood in a few words, it would be struggle, desolate, and roaches. Yes, it was filled with roach infested home. And I think the way in which God used that neighborhood or that home in order to shape me to the person I am today is I worked super hard in my academics to ensure that I can provide my son with something better, a much, much better life, a much, much better home. So I poured myself into my academics, into opportunities around me so that I could use that as like my ticket out. That is something that I am proud of doing. And now that I think about the home that I presently live in, and it is completely night and day. And my son already has a better start than I did.
Oh, struggle and roaches. Yep, I remember that. I definitely do. But you know what? To be honest, when I was standing at the bottom of that hill like 20 years ago, 3 years ago, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about actually Messiah, who lived on our left. And I was thinking of Diana and Jessica, who lived on our right. And the sweet old white man who lived across the street, Mr. King, who used to have our back. And there was a kid on the corner that named Cortland we used to play with. Like, I was thinking about all of that that was happening in that neighborhood, because there was so much beauty, but there was also like so much struggle. And I was wondering, like, did God know about that? Was he a part of the struggle? You know, and what about all the good stuff that happened too? Like, did he send that to us? Did he make that happen, or did we just get lucky and were we able to eventually get out? And I've thought on this for a long time, and so now I want to question you guys who are watching. What if I told you that, one, not only does God care about our neighborhoods, but that he wants to use the experiences in our neighborhoods to grow? So the rest of this video, we're going to explore those two questions. Does God care about our neighborhoods? Can he use the experiences in our neighborhoods to help us grow? We're going to explore that idea. And I hope that as we journey through the video, you're able to see not only more and understand more about God and the neighborhoods, but you're able to truly see that God is in your neighborhood in a really meaningful way. Let's just do it. But before we keep going, I want to say this. You have an activity guide that says God in my neighborhood that was given to you in your Monday package. So I need you to pull that guide out. Okay. And on there are going to be questions along the way, things to fill in so that we can stick with together, that we're all on the same page. Does that make sense? So the first thing that you need to fill in are the blanks for the two questions that we're going to answer today. Does God care about our neighborhood? Does God care about my neighborhood, rather? And two, can he use the experiences in our neighborhoods to help us grow? Go ahead and fill that in. And we're going to keep on rolling, okay?
Sunday best. Hey, some days you wake up and nothing works, you feel surrounded. Gotta give your feet some gravity to get you grounded. Keep good things inside your ears.
Whenever I hear questions or I have questions about God, I've learned to just go straight to the Bible, okay? And I feel very confident saying this is always the best place to start. Now, let's just pause, because I can guess that when I said the word Bible, most people watching probably had some kind of reaction. So, we're just gonna moment and have a moment. All right, I want you to go to your activity guide that was in your pack, and you've already filled in the questions, but I want you to look at the first square, the first rectangle rather, that's on your paper, and it asks the question, when you hear the word Bible, what is the first thing that you think? And so I just want you to be honest. What's the first thing you think when you hear the word Bible? So you can pause this video, take a moment, think about that, answer it, fill that in, and then come on back when you're done. Maybe you said that it challenges you in a really good way, or that it gives you hope, or you feel a sense of peace when you read the Bible, or clarity. Or maybe you said something a little different, like it's frustrating, or it's hard to read, or that it feels boring. And sometimes you may feel some of those things at the same time. And hey, I hear you. So let's just start from square one. What is this book, and why, if we're gonna focus on knowing God and understanding if he cares about our neighborhoods, why do we need to start here? Well, yes, this is one book. This is one book, but it's also a collection of smaller books. And each of these smaller books all tell a different part of one big story, right? And that big story is leading to this person named Jesus. And Jesus, man, from this book, we learn that Jesus is the Son of God. And God saw us in all of our mess. I mean, he'd been with us through it, like ride or die with us from he decided that he would send his son once and for all to not only fix it, but to live among us, to grow like we grow up. So Jesus was born as a child, had a birthday, you know, all that stuff. Had parents, had family, had cousins, had aunties that got on his nerves, he had all that. And he grew up and lived and then also died because he was a part of God's plan to restore the world. It was far from what he created it to be. And so God wanted to restore the world to have goodness and beauty that he intended it to have. And Jesus was a part of that plan. So if that's the case, and if we go back to our question, does God actually care about our neighborhoods? And we think of this big story that is written out in all of these books over all these thousands of years, then I think it's fair to say, yes, God actually cared so much about not just the neighborhoods, but the people that we find in our neighborhoods. Everywhere that Jesus went, he brought love, and he brought forgiveness, and he brought healing. And actually, instead of just summarizing stuff, we're gonna open this. Okay? So if you have a Bible, just, go to the front, look at that little table of contents section, find the book John. Okay? It's in the New Testament. The Old Testament is kind of like part 1, New Testament is part 2. So find the book of John. Okay, go to chapter 1, and we're gonna go to verse 14. Or maybe you want to use your Bible app on your phone. Do you have that? And if you do, you can open that up and do the same process. Go to Red, go to the book that says the Bible, choose John, scroll down a little bit, go to chapter 1, and then verse 14. And I'm actually gonna change the translation to the Message version, because the Message translation has a really interesting way of putting this verse. Let's read it together. John 1:14. The Word became flesh and blood. Now, when it says the Word, it's talking about Jesus. It's another description or name for Jesus. So Jesus became flesh and blood like us and moved into the neighborhood. We saw the glory with our own eyes, the one-of-a-kind glory, like Father, like Son, generous inside and out. He lived among us. And we just saw that he was just like God. He was like Father, like Son. He was generous and he was truthful, start to finish, inside and out, just beautiful. So now that we've thought through that and we've spent time on that first question that focused on our neighborhoods, I want you all to sit and think about your neighborhood specifically. So go down to your activity guide. There are 2 more questions I want us to look at and think about. The first one asks, what things do you really appreciate or enjoy about your neighborhood? When you think about your neighborhood, what are a couple things that you're like, yeah, this is really good. I like this. And then the second question asks, what things in your neighborhood need healing? And what I don't mean by this question is, what do you just not like? Because I can not like something, but that doesn't mean it needs healing, meaning that it needs, it's something that is hurting or needs to be restored or is broken and needs to be fixed. So think a little bit deeper. Pause this video and try to come up with 2 things for each question. And then when you're done with that, come on back.
Everyone falls down sometimes, but you just gotta know it'll all be fine. It's okay.
Come to a place in our exploration of these 2 questions where we've covered the first one quite a bit of, does God care about our neighborhoods? But the second one, the question of, can he use my experiences here to help me grow for some reason? It's kind of like a so what. So he cares, so what? What's the point?
Hey y'all, I thought it would be fun in this part of the video to have some of my friends come on and tell you about their stories and their experiences of God using their neighborhoods to help them grow. So watch this real quick.
Hi friends, I want to share a little bit about what I learned growing up in my neighborhood here in East Tennessee. Had the basketball goal in the driveway. My friends would come over and I just found a great time hanging out and talking with friends. And then I find myself living in Africa years later as an adult, and God used that as a way just to be able to build friendships through the neighborhood, as I've been able to do that around the world. You can see that map behind me shows some of the places we've been, and God's just always been good to me to be able to make friends wherever I find myself.
Hey friends, my name is Megan Stiles and I grew up in Jasper, Indiana, specifically on a dead-end street, so my neighborhood is really small. It's just 6 houses back here. Growing up with such a small amount of neighbors has really helped me become who I am today. God has used my neighbors and me to help to pour into each other's lives and to really grow our relationships and grow our relationships with God and invest in the people we're around.
Hello, my name is Ariana Smith. I live in North Knoxville in an area called Lonsdale. I feel that God has used my neighborhood to show me that no matter where you're from, there's always someone that cares about you, and there's always people that will try their best to help you. I also feel that He's used my neighborhood to show me that where you're from doesn't determine where you'll go, and that there's no limit to what you want to do or who you want to be.
Hey guys, my name is Olivia Forey, and I grew up in and around Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a lot of little small towns right around Charlotte, and I lived in just about all of them for different reasons. We moved quite a bit, jobs and parents got divorced, all the different things. But what God taught me through that was just who I really was. So I learned a lot from the different neighborhoods I lived in. So one neighborhood I lived in was really country, and one was really urban, one was more small, one was a little bit bigger. And I took something from each of those things. God showed up in every single school I was at and taught me that, you know, there's friends everywhere and that good people are in all those spaces.
So now that you've gotten to hear from some of my friends and some of the people that you know too, maybe about their lives and the neighborhoods they grew up in or have been a part of and how that shaped their life, I want to bring all of this back to you, to your life in your neighborhood, the one you're in right now. So as you know, in Calling Career, we believe that you have not been put on earth yet. The God of the Bible gave you life on purpose, and that same God filled you with gifts and talents on purpose. And so what we do in Calling Careers, we try to explore what those gifts could be and how you can use them. So, you know, you go to school and you do learning there, and then you come to Calling Career and you explore a little bit with us, but the learning and exploring doesn't stop when you get back to your neighborhood. So whether or not you realize everything around you in your environment is having an effect on you and how you see things and how you think about things and the way you speak on things, right? But another one of those little books in this collection of books is named Romans, and Romans 8 verse 28, it says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him and have been called according to His purpose." When we know God, when we have that relationship with Him and we let Him lead our life, He's able to take all those things, positive and negative, and He uses them to make us the best versions of ourselves. I want you to go back to your activity guide and look at the question that asked, what in your neighborhood needs healing? And I want you to think about what you wrote. Because what if God wants to use you, your gifts and your talents as a part of the healing that He's doing in your neighborhood? Because what I've realized after standing at 139 Avenue F, I've learned that the God in my neighborhood is meant to show up in me, in you. I know this might sound weird, but we are meant to look like Jesus. And the way we do that is by living like Jesus, by using our gifts, by being kind, and most importantly, by caring about what happens to the people around us. You are meant to be who you are and be that person on purpose. is. So I want you to think on this. And if you've gotten down to this point, you have gone through all of this activity, God. I am so proud of you. I'm proud of you all, always, and I'm looking forward to see the ways that you are going to impact your neighborhood and make change and bring healing around you, and what that's going to do in your life in the years to come. All right, y'all, thanks for being in my house. Let's talk some more on Instagram about all of this. I'll see you on live. Bye.